All right, guys, welcome back. Let's get down to it. Diving into the market, going to take a look at where our portfolio is at for today. We did make some changes. Took a look at some things yesterday and decided to make some movements in and out of stuff. So I'm going to review that first, and then we're going to head into the due diligence for the day. So let me get some tunes on here, and we can get this show on the road. Hopefully that's not too loud. No, that's not going to do it. I'm going to need something a little bit more upbeat than that. There we go. That is better. All right, first up, portfolio. So, what are the changes that we made? So, of course, this isn't going to populate. So yesterday we exited exited IMMP, exited. There's another one that we exited. Um, Waiter is getting back down to a rebuy for me. I like it around that 280 mark. So this right now, Waiter at 292 is something that I'm going to look at getting back into. I think that this is reasonable. I did touch that 280 line like I said it would. So I'm going to look at it at 3. I do believe that if you're willing to wait a quarter on this, this is going to go to 8. So if I want to double up, I'm looking to put money in there. Again, guys, disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. The stuff that I'm talking about here is purely just conjecture. I don't really like flipping day to day. And the problem I have with flipping day to day is those stocks, yes, they have volatility. The penny stocks, they really do. But my biggest issue with that is when there's huge risk for, when there's huge opportunity for reward, there's also a huge opportunity for risk. And so, as a father of 8, I'm not looking to play the stocks that are going to blow up one way or the other, because if they blow up the wrong way, I'm blowing it all. So that's not really what I'm looking at. Instead, what I'm looking at is I've had pretty decent success uh, taking stocks and playing them on quarterly or sometimes 2 quarters out. But typically, I work in the business world. I'm a consultant, so I'm used to how businesses work. When I read their financial reports, when I read their filings and their earnings, I understand what they're trying to say, and I also understand a little bit of the marketing that they throw in there. And so, as I cut through the fluff, I understand when companies are actually going to make something come through, and that's when I like to get in when I see the opportunity. So, any stock that I'm in right now, I'm largely weighted into biopharmaceuticals, because unlike most of the stock market that's in the constant let's buy, sell, sell, everybody's watching on earnings, everybody's watching on revenue. Bio plays on slightly different rules. The biopharmaceuticals operate more on their pipeline, R&D, and development. And as the stocks come out, or as the pipeline develops, as the drugs start to move further and further down the line, closer to being approved, the stock prices go with it. And the more drugs that you hold, the more profitable your company is just going to be. So that's where I dedicate the majority of my portfolio. I would say 90% of my portfolio is in those bio stocks. I probably have another 5% between uh, Well, I guess 5% weight or 5% MFA. So MFA is an REIT. They hold a whole bunch of properties. This before COVID had a 10% yield dividend. So for a small float stock like that, that was all right. But other than that, yeah, no, I'm not looking. Even the smaller stocks here, DMPI 64 cents, TBP 33 cents. TBP for me is a Q1 2021 play. DMPI is a Q4 2020 play. So even though these are lower cost stocks, I'm in a position to hold them for months, and I'm willing to wait. I'm not in a rush. I'm not trying to rush this market, especially when you see things like this happening. So over here, guys, this is the SPY. This is a representation of. It's an ETF that represents essentially the S&P 500, or it tries to. The thing with the SPY is the stock market's looking okay. It's looking okay. Okay, there's a little bit of a dip. That's reasonable. I mean, things can't be perfect all the time. Holy cow, what the heck happened? And so this morning we're back up to 286.42. No, we're still down. We're down even from this, guys. So it was a nutty close yesterday. Who knows where that's gonna go this morning? We'll get into that right now, actually. So first things first, let's clear out the PR. This is a PR newsfeed that I've set up to break down what the market is doing. It channels from a whole bunch of different sources, routers, the Newswire, Google itself. So really what we're going to do is we're just going to go through here and see if there's anything of interest. So the Fed speech is a big deal. Russia down to coronavirus. And so for a lot of people, like when you're trying to get the news, you've got your favorite sources, right? Like you've got your, I like to go to BBC, or I like to go to CNN or Fox News, or wherever you like to go. For me, I want it all. And I want to be able to scan it quickly, and I want to be able to understand what's going on. And so for the most part, you can read these headlines and get a decent grasp on what exactly is the world doing right now. Okay, massive loans in the EU. Car developers are taking a hit. Doesn't matter who they are. Yemen's got COVID. Pence is staying away from Trump. So this is a big thing in the States where nobody wants Trump and Pence to get COVID because Pelosi would then take the reins of the government. So they're trying to keep them separated. How crazy would that be if California votes Republican? Okay, oils. Let's refresh this. This is Koifin, guys. If you haven't used this tool, koifin.com, I highly recommend it. It's a great tool to get a deep snapshot of everything that's going on in the world. Crude is up 5. Brent is down. This is crazy, this disconnect between crude and Brent. And the global markets are not looking happy today. So today is looking to be a very red day. This should be interesting. Okay, back to the press releases. We'll get out of there. So this is the Newswire. Square Enix. I wonder how Square Enix did. No, this is not for investment purposes. This is just like Square Enix, and let's see what they're up to. First section of the Tokyo Stock Exchange. I mean, they're up. They're up year over year. Early shipments of Final Fantasy VII are in there. Okay, but this is going to be huge when the actual numbers come in. That's cool, though. Glad to see a company I love doing well in the midst of crisis. That's news that I'm interested in. Hanson Biopharma. Problem is, like, so many of these are European press releases that a lot of these stocks don't have a U.S. counterpart. All right. Why is Moleculin listed here? Oh, so it's saying here's the news about AMAG, but it sees Moleculin as a strong buy right now. That's awesome. Good news for me. I actually have a holding in MBRX, so 2 more days. 2 more days till that halt gets lifted. But that's good news to see that they're advertising MBRX as a top pick. Verlacidin. So this is the crazy thing here is there's lots of people talking about what drugs are going to get the win on COVID. And there are a lot of different ones out there. Gilead's got remdesivir, you've got mRNA doing their thing, J&J, Pfizer, they all want a piece, right? For me, as I looked at all of the data, the NIH and the NIAID, so the National Institute Against Infectious Diseases, it's a ridiculously long, I guess they didn't want to be called NAD. Um, but the thing is, they went through 12,000 drugs that were already on the market when this COVID thing started. 12,000. And they went, okay, well, what could have potential gains for COVID? What could work well? What should we look at? What should we try? Of those 12,000 drugs they looked at, they came to a short list of 8. Of those 8, 3 of them couldn't be used because of toxicity or complications. So we're down to 5. Of the 5, 4 of them were drugs that were readily available. There were big companies that were out there, but there was one that stood out to me like, oh wow, this thing is a never been heard of kind of deal. This Berlacidin drug. And the thing with Berlacidin is where the rest of the drugs look good for either a treatment, a vaccine, or to help fight secondary infection, Berlacidin does all three. It could be used as both a vaccine, a treatment for those who have already contracted COVID, or as a prevention of secondary infection. So it's a wonder drug as far as COVID is concerned, but it's just sitting there. And I mean, this is one of those ones where you have to really do your due diligence on it because it's a low float penny stock. It's like 16 cents or 17 cents, but the the way that the federal government did is they took the drugs that it thought had potential and they have 12 labs around the US that they're doing testing on. They narrowed that field and they still have 12 labs testing. They just have 12 labs testing fewer drugs. Berlaston made it through the first round and it's in the second round, and they're approaching human trials right now. So this is a long, long ball, like a Hail Mary play. So put your lunch money in here, kind of deal, right? Like for that's how I look at it. Is like take the money that you would spend on coffee at Tim Hortons, or if you're American, like your Dunkin' Donuts, your Starbucks. Put that money into something like this would be, feasible. That's about the amount of risk I'd be willing to put towards it. However, in the event that this pays off, if these guys become the standard of treatment for not only treatment for those who already have COVID and to prevent secondary infection, but it also becomes the vaccine, uh, they stand to grow significantly. And what you're looking at is like if you go to mRNA and take a look at where they were at, I don't really like that chart. Let's go to, okay, mRNA. Okay, and let's pull it out a year. Okay, so here was mRNA back before COVID, so around that $18 mark, okay? And then they dropped word in late February that they are going to work on a vaccine. Then they started to look like one of the favorites. Then everybody started pumping. $66. Tripled up, right? Okay. So, but we're not just saying it tripled up. We're saying that this news right here, this segment, that's worth $40. Imagine taking a penny stock like iPix, putting your lunch money in there. So we're not talking a ton. We're talking a little bit. Um, just $100. Let's say $100. Take $100, and you can see that this is getting some slow little upticks here. Not a ton, but a little bit. But imagine this going up $20, right? So you've got, let's say, okay, so we said $100, right? You're going to pop $100 in here. Move this over here so you can see it. You're going to pop $100 in here. So you got $100. Okay, Pfizer's got added trials here. Hmm. Okay, let's go. Let's see how ACRX is doing on here. Yeah, that call was big for ACRX. Whether the stock price is going to indicate that this morning or not, hard to say. Pretty wide gap, 125 to 169. ACRX 153 pre-market, so it's unmoved. But I mean, I think there's possibilities, huge possibilities here. Zacks upgraded to a buy, even though they haven't moved their price rating. Main rate dropped from 9 to 7. Yeah, all kinds of new institutional ownership. I'm okay with that. Yeah, we're looking good. Oil ETF closing? Okay. Up next, we've got FDA. Fast track designation for Moderna today. So that's worth looking at. Medical company receives emergency designation. Sedation. On the trial for bogus claims about coronavirus treatments, the FDA targets. That's another one that got dinged. Rutgers University has a new test. That's no good. Proves lung and thyroid cancers. Okay, so that's stuff from yesterday. We went through that. Okay, so let's take a look at these. Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine grabs fast track designation. The company's finalizing the protocol for a phase 3 study of mRNA 1273 that phase early summer. I mean, That's a big deal. That's a big deal for Moderna. Let's see how that's doing today. I don't hold on here. RNA. Down pre-market. I think that fast track is going to say something. Unless this isn't breaking news. Well, this is breaking news, May 13th. Okay. I mean, that's good news for mRNA for sure. We're at the end of this album, so time to put on some more tunes. Categories. Crestwood Medical-based company has received emergency authorization for its respiratory muscle stimulator. But it doesn't say what it is. Interesting. What's the approval? Respiratory muscle simulator. Apellis? No stock. Oh, yes, stock. So that's Apellis that's going to go up on that. It's interesting that they didn't list that there, though. Fresenius Propoven. Fresenius Propoven. Okay. Fall. They always give you the scientific name, and then you gotta do your deep dive to figure that out. So propofol is the drug that killed Michael Jackson. Who makes propofol? Pfizer. So that's a Pfizer play. So let's start clearing this out here and putting on what's good for today. So mRNA, Pfizer, Apellis, ACRX, Yeah, I'm not a fan of NBRB. I think I'm going to get rid of this alert. It's not something I'm going to be testing or buying into at all in the near future. So, all right. So that's that done. Let's head over. Refresh this. Grab the top news. So that's a double for Pfizer on the propofol. So Pfizer could see a really good day today. How are they doing pre-market? No movement. Interesting. On the prowl for bogus claims about coronavirus treatments, FDA targets miracle mineral solution. So this is just a breakdown of a whole bunch of different companies that are, I mean, essentially committing fraud. Tetraphase. Okay. That's all that we needed to know with ACRX and Tetraphase, really, is that the agreement to sell each other's drugs is going to stay in place. So that's fantastic. Um, I'm out of GNCA. I made 11% on it yesterday. So let's get rid of this feed. gonna have to reopen this because my holdings are not showing up. Okay, there we go. So I'm out of GNCA, CRDF. That was the other one that we exited. So IMP, ONC, GNCA, and CRDF, we all exited at a gain. We're in marker till the end of the month, surf until the end of the month, ACRX until Q4, IPIX until news drops, hopefully soon. MBRX is halted until the 15th. TBP is a long hold through Q4 of next year. MFA I expected to move yesterday on news that they're going to start buying up the bonds, but yeah, I mean, what is MFA looking like right now? Hmm. 156, 158. So it's floating here still. It's not really spiking. What I like about over other ETFs, low float stocks, is MFA was a stock that I was in before COVID for its yields. I exited on the drop. I got out at $7. It had a 10% yield, which is a really attractive yield for an REIT. Um, and it fell down to, well, like you guys can see, right? Like, nosedive. It fell down to this one, oh man, almost at its lowest, it fell below that $1 mark. At which point the Fed came in and said they were going to offer recovery. They bought it back up, bam, 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 bought it back up, and it seems to have since just been bouncing this line. This one, it goes to 150. So let's go from the peak here. This is in mid-April. So you see that it's just hopping between, it looks like 140 at the low, up to about $2. So right now at 150, I mean that's a quick flip for me. If they come in. Now, one of the things I need to consider as the market reopens, as forbearances get paid, as rents get paid, MFA is likely to go back up to $7. So if I can acquire a position in this, and this was a dividend position that I held anyway, if you're seeing a 10% dividend on this, it doesn't sound like a lot, right? It's 15 cents. It's true, but the stock only costs $1.50. So if you got 1,000 of those, that 15 cents becomes a bit better, right? You're looking at $15 paid out quarterly, and it grows. What I'm getting at is to have a 10% yield on something is impressive. This MFA or this REIT is based largely in corporate commercial holdings. So it owns commercial property. So I'm really interested to see what it does. I think we see a lot of movement on this as the Fed buys up more and more of the bonds. Okay, let's head back into the feed, see what we've got. Global trade seen cut by more than a quarter. Yeah, trade is going to get hit. People are going to become very nationalist. People are just going to, let's protect ours and our own. And we're going to see more and more and more of that, which is why I think that we are going to have a huge, absolutely huge issue in the EU, where the EU is built on this idea of globalization, right? Let's have everybody work together for the greater good. And I mean, it sounds nice, but the reality is it's not playing out so well for the EU. And I think now with nationalist sentiment being greater and greater and greater, especially with populist leaders like Trump and Marson and Johnson, I think what you see, China's always been populist. You've got the leader that is just going to rock this. You've got leaders that are so focused on their own country and they could give two cares less about anybody else, despite what they may say to the press. It's going to be a really wild ride over the next little bit. Pompeo lauds Israel over coronavirus cooperation. So Pompeo is firing shots at China left, right, and center. Lack of transparency from China. Yeah, he's rattling that saber hard. Airline industry is hurting globally. Indonesia has a spike. Malaysia has a spike. So it's making its way through that Pan Asia. Virus tracing apps should be voluntary, which makes them irrelevant because if everybody's not using them, nobody's using them. European shares slump on virus fears, banks hit by weak earnings. Yep. Yeah, I mean, the European banks do not have that same level of liquidity that US banks do. It's definitely a scary animal. Okay. All right, from there, let's go check the top news. This is the Flynn case not being dropped. And it's interesting because my understanding of it was that he's saying that there's a third party that needs to have a say in this, and my understanding was that this is a federal case against an individual, which means that the Department of Justice represents the federal interest, which is the U.S. people, the United States of America, and then you've got the person who's guilty of it. If the United States of America says that they don't want to try the person, then that's all cases that are involved. The entire nation of the U.S., represented by the Department of Justice and whoever committed the crime. This judge is saying, well, no. We also need to take into account other people that have an opinion, which is an interesting twist for sure. I still see it getting thrown out. That's a huge shadow. Um, they're just playing around. It's to draw your attention over here away from something else that's happening. It's really a non-issue. This is unfortunate. Interesting. It's unfortunate she didn't get to finish her case. That could have been a big deal. All right, what else we got here? Italy, Elon Musk. Okay, let's take a look at this stuff. Italy eases restrictions. We see residents reflect on the ways life has changed in Europe's longest lockdown. Yeah. Rome is empty. Fear for small businesses not reopening. Southern Italy. Quarter of the population is over 65. Largest in the EU. Coffee's brewing. People are back in the restaurants. A lot of restaurants that are just facing extinction. 600 euros after a month and a half. Yikes. Yikes. Wow, would that not just be the biggest Atlas Shrugged move of all? Looks like Elon. Looks like Elon.
At Sleep Country, we're real sleep experts, and now we're available online or by phone to match you to a better sleep. Connect with us today at sleepcountry.ca. Sleep well, stay well.
So how real is this standoff then between the ECB and the German court?
Well, what is really starting to look now is, as of the European Central Bank was almost just collateral damage in this fight, it really does look like this is a standoff between the national courts and the ECJ. This is about whether you should follow your national legislation or whether European institutions should be guided through different criteria. And this we have seen play out before with other countries over other issues. And it does look like in Germany, this is something that really is about accountability, who is responsible and who should, Germany in this case, but also the ECB respond to.
So, aren't we hearing, though, from members of the ECB that they don't want to make that big a deal about this, that they're willing to just put together a presentation that should only take a few hours and send it to the German court?
Yeah, and this is what we've been reporting now for almost a week, kind of saying members of the ECB actually believe that they could respond to these questions quickly, but there is an internal debate as to should the ECB provide the answers to a national court, even though really it doesn't have that responsibility over the ECB. This is not a court that actually has that kind of power, or should it be done through the German central bank? And then I would also point that if you look at the key European institutions at this point, including von der Leyen, who is German and would know this constitution very well, also put out a statement over the weekend saying, let's just keep it very clear, the institutions that are EU should be held accountable by the European Court of Justice. They don't respond to anyone else. And if you try to not do that, we could actually look at whether you as a country breaking the law essentially.
At Sleep Country, we're real sleep experts, and now we're available online or by phone to match you to a better sleep. Connect with us today at sleepcountry.ca. Sleep well, stay well.
This marks this month the 10-year anniversary of the flash crash, which saw $1 trillion wiped off U.S. stock markets in less than a half an hour and made me lose my hair. The markets recovered, but for years afterwards, nobody was sure exactly what had happened. Glitches, high-frequency traders, and old-fashioned fat fingers were initially blamed. Then, in 2015, a London-based point-and-click trader, Navinder Sario, was arrested for market manipulation. But the question was, how did a single man trading financial markets from his bedroom in his parents' basement cause such a massive and abrupt crash? Bloomberg's financial investigations reporter Liam Vaughn has made the so-called Hound of Hounslow the subject of his book, Flash Crash, and it's out tomorrow. It's also being turned into a film with Slumdog Millionaire actor Dev Patel playing Saro.
Oh,
So,
cool.
Liam,
I'll
first
probably grab that book.
question, what do we know about how this really happened? How much is myth and how much
What's
is
up, man? How you doing?
Without wanting to give the ending of the book away, the flash crash was this kind of very dramatic, very mysterious event in 2010, in which the bottom just miraculously sort of fell out of the market. It was already a highly volatile day. We're in the midst of the eurozone crisis,
Tencent
and
blowing
suddenly
up.
the markets around the world started sort of plummeting like a runaway elevator. And
Okay, so
originally,
this is an article I definitely want to take a look at if there is an
they kind
article
of
on
focused
it.
on various explanations, including the rise of high frequency
So
trading.
GenFit died yesterday, just absolutely died. What am I trading? I'm getting ready for the market to open, so I will be trading on the NYSE. I trade biopharmaceuticals almost entirely.
And a
Small
reputation
holdings in Wader and MFA, but otherwise it's almost 100. Well, it is 100% bio. Outside of that, um, I'm an exclusive. No penny stocks. Nope. No, I don't do penny stocks. I play biopharmaceuticals on equity 2 quarters out. So that idea of grabbing a penny stock and running it is not something I like. It's not something I do. Normally start around 4:30 in the morning, and then I spend 2.5 hours just breaking down the market, getting ready for the day trading. There are a lot of penny stocks out there. There's a lot of people playing penny stocks. There's a big Tim Sykes movement right now, but that's just not for me.
And it's really interesting, isn't it, with so many people possibly watching, but also
Yeah, VDIQ. So my thoughts are I like Tesla better.
and the strange times that
Um,
we find ourselves in. But tell me a bit about how
yeah,
that
I think
narrative
that's without going into insane amounts of
shifted
detail. Yeah,
during the
I think I like Tesla better in the long run on it.
economy.
Just if I had to pick between fuel cell and electric, I pick electric. Pretty much every time. Uh, as far as the trucking industry making those developments and changing their entire fleets over to new trucks, I don't think Tesla or VTIQ really have a hope of it. So, I mean, for me, it's not a play that I like. I see it getting its pump. I see everybody loving it, but there's lots of stocks out there that are getting pumped that are complete dog crap.
That he set up various offshore like vehicles and bank accounts, and that he was in his kind of interactions with the exchange sometimes quite aggressive. So they didn't really know what to expect, and then they knock on the door and go up to his bedroom, and it's literally a single bed with a tiger stuffed toy on it and a load of computer games and paraphernalia. Um, and so what eventually happens is that they get to know Nav, and firstly, they realise just how incredibly gifted he is, and at that point in time, the US authorities
Given the benefit observed on both NASH resolution and fibrosis with Philadelphia and the NASH phase 2b study, as well as data presented at multiple medical meetings from studies of seladelpar and PBC, I'm pleased that the independent review panel is supportive of restarting clinical development pending approval from the FDA.
by HFT firms. So he started videoing himself trading.
Okay,
So
so
that
CBA
so when they
may
when they
be
found that he was doing
a
that, and all of a sudden
NASH play, but I mean,
breaking the law, so it didn't help
Oh, you're out in the UK, across the pond. Well, I guess that makes more sense. It's still probably a little bit early for people over here to be up. I've just got this thing about being up at 4:30 and breaking it down so I can understand what your guys' markets did, so I can get ready for my market. UK is an interesting beast, especially with some of the moves that they're making over there. Their tension with China is interesting because before Johnson, there was quite a fond relationship, at least economically, between China and the UK. But of late, that nationalization that Johnson is bringing in, like let's focus on the UK, let's get UK nailed down, is really pissing off China. And to see that divide is very, very interesting. Yeah, this is it. Like Genfit was worth $20 yesterday pre-market, and it's now worth 7. That's the risk to these. Like this is nuts. Yeah, so CBay is looking to replace. That may be one to watch today. CBay. So you're new to stocks. Yeah, CBA had a good day. They were up 127% yesterday. That's not bad. That's a good day. I was busy watching Waiter yesterday, but the problem with something in this field just so you have to compare this to GenFit, okay? Because the two of them are battling for the same thing. They want the exact same thing. Oh man, did they get relegated to the? Okay, so here's GenFit. Okay, this is the industry. This is this Nash industry that they're trying to address, and as you can see, it's a turbulent road. It always is in bio, but this is kind of where GenFit was sitting before they dropped their results, and that's where they are after the results said, no, not so hot, not so great. And that is a massive, like from $22 to 740. Like you lost 60% of your value in a day, and now you're relegated to the pits of biopharma. So this one, does it have room to run? Yeah, I mean, they've said they're going back to the FDA, but they've already had a failed drug in the FDA. Let's go back further. Like let's go back 5 years. Okay, so 5 years ago, they were up around $14. Guess what happened here? This is them failing a study. Bam. Then this is them not having any more good news about what's going on. Bam. They weren't affected. The bio is largely unaffected by coronavirus. If anything, they've gained on coronavirus, but this one has nothing to do with it. People are saying this is a strong buy at the moment, but I mean, unless they get approval from the FDA to continue going, I mean, yikes. Just yikes. If I was to play this, it would be no more than a couple days, I don't think. Just because, yeah. So, I mean, I can go over what it is I'm looking at. I'm not sure which plays I'm going to take or not. I never actually advertise my plays, just because I mean, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't want people trading off of my plays in shadow trading. I want people to learn how to do due diligence, which is what this is about, teaching you guys how to actually investigate stocks and make your own decisions. But I am taking a look at Moderna. They did have a bit of a drop yesterday, but Moderna is rapidly moving ahead. Now they're saying it'll be summer when they start their human trials, their phase 3 human trials, which is a big deal. So Moderna, I think, has some room, but this is an options play. So this is not an equity play. This is not a stock play. It's an options play. Pfizer got 2 pieces of good news. One, Moderna gave them a shout out saying we can't produce enough vaccine for everybody, so somebody's going to have to help us, and we think it's Pfizer. As well, Pfizer got news. Where is it? Propofol got an emergency use designation from the FDA, which is owned by Pfizer. So that's another potential play when you get 2 pieces of good news like that. Pre-market, they haven't moved yet, so there'll still be opportunity there, I think. Apellis is a pharmaceutical company in the states. There's approval on an FDA approval on a pharmaceutical company in their town that does what they do. The FDA hasn't announced the name of the company yet, but this one I think has potential to move. You see a little bit of the whisper happening around it right now. I think we see this one go up 7-8% today. ACRX is a long hold for me. So ACRX had their earnings call last night. They were looking really strong on the earnings call. ACRX has a contract with the Department of Defense in the United States to replace morphine. Their drug Dasuvia, instead of it being an IV or an injectable, it's a sublingual, so you just put it under your tongue, and it does a better job than morphine. Doesn't leave you groggy, doesn't leave you disoriented. And the American Department of Defense is looking to pick it up across the board as well. They're working with hospitals and surgeons, paramedics to get this into hospitals as soon as possible. So currently, their entire market cap is 123 million. They project the contract with the U.S. Army, just the initial purchase from the U.S. Army, will be 30 million, and that's not restocking. That's just the initial supply. So if you consider Navy, Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Space Force, and then the medical industry in the U.S. If 30 million's from the Army, then you can expect something still similar from the Navy and the Air Force. Coast Guard, I don't know that they will need that much, so let's call it 10 million. So already we're up to 100 million. And then you've got the entire medical field, anesthesiology in the US, which is a trillion-dollar industry. Anyway, I see that market cap doubling by Q4 of 2021. So at a price of $1.53, if we look for companies that have a market cap of double that, let's take a look at like what's Pfizer's market cap? Billions. Let's go with CBay. Okay, so CBay. CBay's got a much larger market cap. They're around that $4 mark. So even if I have to wait to quadruple, I'll quadruple on that. It's a 400% gain that's sitting there for me to consider. So I'll look at that. I'm not going to get into GenFit at all. CBay I will put up here and take a look at, but I probably won't get into. And now it's really just me rinsing and repeating, going through this, keeping on top of the news. The voice you hear in the background is Bloomberg Live. I'm listening to them. Yeah, this is Fauci speaking. Yeah. Yeah, Fauci was not a fan of the idea of reopening, and he never is going to be. That's unfortunate. He's self quarantined right now, so he had to do that from home. Okay, what else we got happening here? Tencent had a good day. Microsoft option strategies for Nvidia. Technical levels. Blah blah blah. Novio tackles coronavirus pipeline after Q1 report. INO. Where's INO these days? I know. I'm not playing oil. Ha, Goss. One of these days I might do Twitch things. Maybe on a Saturday. I'll get the kiddos in here playing with me. Oil. Okay, so here are my thoughts on oil. I assume, yeah, you're talking the ETF here. Okay. So oil. What we see right now is an oil glut like we've never seen before. When Saudi Arabia says 1 million barrels is another cut that they're going to make, and the whole world blinks, like, so what? It, Oil's in a bad way, in a real bad way right now. This is a commodity that at one point looked would take over the gold standard and would become the black If we're looking at oil in general. So this is a great tool, guys. If you've never used this before, I suggest you take a look at it. Koifin.com. Okay, it's a free tool. You don't have to buy it. There's no premium. It's just there. So hop into Koifin, and what you're going to see down here is the commodities market. Okay, so down here in the commodities, uh, this is what alarms me. Normally, Brent crude and crude oil, um, they mirrored each other. They just they would go side by side, um, and they would be the exact same, um, up and down. They would move in tandem. And what we're seeing now is this disconnect between Brent and crude, where I mean, crude oil is up 5.1% today. Brent's down 6. The history between the two of them is nuts. And I mean, yes, is this COVID related? Absolutely, that's COVID related. Um, but this action of, oh, we're hopeful, no, we're not. Oh, we're hopeful, no, we're not. I think with Aramco filing 25% loss on their table, Saudi Arabia's position as a leader and the voice in oil is diminishing more and more and more. So you used to have, like, okay, the Saudis were number one, and then you had Russia, and then you had the US, and then you had the rest of the world, right? What happened was we discovered shale and how we could get at it and use it, and now the massive deposits of shale across the US place the US as right there as one of the big players. It kind of bumped Russia just because of the amount of just surplus oil that it had access to. So Russia started to make plays into the Middle East again, which they're still doing right now. They're building into pipelines, and so what you have now, instead of that hierarchy of, okay, well, we've got Saudi Arabia, then we've got Russia, then the U.S. What you have now is three major global powers competing for authority in that industry, and Russia is just right now focused and dialed in on building its pipeline system down into the Baltic, and it's going to be a crazy pipeline that they're going to build, and you're going to have Russia having access into the major global markets, or two major global markets at least, Europe and Asia, through this pipeline. So that's a big deal. Which erodes Saudi Arabia's grasp a little bit on oil in the Middle East and oil down into Africa. So I think what you're seeing is a major shift in an ecosystem that has been pretty stable for about 30 years. And now people are saying, okay, well, who's in charge of this thing? Who decides what happens? And I think nobody has an answer to that. And until there's an answer for that, I don't think that we see stability in oil. For me, if you're going to play oil into the future, fine, so be it. Look at oil into Q4, even Q3 stock, using oil for heating heading into the winter. But you got to be playing this Q3, Q4. We just started Q2, right? Like, if you're willing to hold that long, fine. I am, most of my plays in biopharmaceutical are that far out anyway, so I am okay with holding that long. But if you're looking for a day play, oil is just not where I would be. That's not the beast that I would be tackling. Um, okay, let's go back to top news here, see what we are doing. Cheers. Hopefully that helps. I know that was a long-winded answer to what you may have been hoping would be a short one, but um, yeah, it oil's a big, complicated beast for sure. The morning call that we do with Stock Guy, we do have a guy that is dedicated and focused on energy and oil. He has much deeper insight than I do into that as a commodity to trade. So definitely something that takes a lot of hours of research, and I've done cursory looks into it. I did have a holding in HOU and USO and MRO. I was profitable on MRO and USO, but HOU didn't pay out for me, so I'm done with oil until I start to see stability back in that market, and you're playing just what was normal. Okay, let's find some tunes here. Maybe not those tunes. something that's got some. There we go. There we go. Something that's got a little bit of a pump to it. All right. All right. Global stocks weekend. Michael Flynn. Euro area uncertainty soars. UK economy shrinks by 2% in the first quarter. 2% is not a huge shrink, though. I mean, Italy was talking 20%. Economic decline on record as coronavirus lockdown begins to take its toll. I suppose. Gosfather, what's your take on this? Any 3D printing companies who are listed do well in the current market. Okay, so there's one that I want to show you here. Where is this? I guess I can use this. Okay. Maybe that's too hard for you to see. Let's just use this. WWD. Okay, so Woodward Inc. is a aerospace engineering company. They don't specifically do 3D printing, but what they've done is they've converted the lines that they do have 3D printing to produce a ventilator that is going to cost you a tenth of what the current ventilators cost. And it costs them nothing to make it. So while they are mostly working in aerospace, and so we're talking planes, jets, helicopters, what they've done is they've converted their lines, their 3D printing lines, to be able to help produce ventilators, which is kind of cool. So this is one that I kind of like. As far as 3D printers as a whole, I think that's a future industry that I'm not going to take a look at. That's right up there with quantum computing or graphene. I do have a position in graphene, but it is a long hold position. Seb, it's a long hold position. Like that's 2025 before that thing is going to be anything. So, Gosfather, yeah, long-term prospect show an annual shrink of 14%. Up to 14% on the annual shrink. So here's my thing. And what I love about Gosfather is the guy can talk taxes and economy with me, but we're talking at a historical level, what everything does. What's interesting here, Goss, is if the UK goes down 14%, so be it. But I see right now the two big players there being the UK and the EU, and I think if you were to add up all of the losses we're going to see against the EU, the UK is actually going to be looking much, much stronger, like incredibly strong coming out of this. I think we see the UK, even at a 14% decrease on GDP, I think you're going to see numbers closer to the 20-25% mark coming out of the EU, which places them in a priority position in a way. The US seems more inclined to be heading into UK to structure a trade deal. The UK is not dependent on manufacturing. Its skills and its resources are its people. In many ways, it can be very similar to a nation like South Korea that is low on commodities. It doesn't have a ton of natural resources. Its people are its resource. And I suppose South Korea, Germany, UK, they all have that in common, right? I legitimately think that the UK is in a much better position. It has much better ties with China than the EU does. It has a standing relationship with them. And yeah, Johnson's rocking the boat a little bit, but China's still got a large investment already into the UK, which is a huge country to have in your corner. Trump is chasing the UK like crazy, trying to get another trade deal under his belt in his second term. He would love to be able to say that he renegotiated the the U.S. Mexico Canada trade deal, the China trade deal, and the UK trade deal, and then he can leave the rest for everyone else. Um, Yeah, so Germany's got its own problems right now. Germany is in this endless battle with the EU courts, which is hilarious because they're the ones that rattle the saber and say, "No, EU is for the EU. We've got to listen to the courts. Our we have to respect our EU courts, otherwise there's no value to the union." And then the second that they decide that they don't like what the EU has voted on as a whole or decided is legal, they start to bail out. Like they're out of here. Bye. Yeah, we've had enough. We've decided that our German courts can now supersede EU courts, and that's just the way it's going to be. And it's like, what are you talking about? You can't just do that. So it's very, very interesting watching that battle here between the two. I do wonder who is going to come out on top. I do. Um, and that's true as well. And that was the other thing. When people are talking about economic stimulus, they're saying, okay, well, the EU should be coming out with a giant package all together to help everybody all at once. And you know what? To be honest, if that is the mandate of the EU, to present a unified front between all of the nations, I agree. That should be the stance. All the nations should go, how much money do you have? Let's all throw it in the pot. Everybody gets an even share. That's how we're doing this. That's socialism in its finest, right? Everybody gets the same. So all of you countries, everybody give what little you can. Greece, Italy, Spain. I know you guys don't have a lot of money right now. No problem. Just throw it on in there. Maybe we'll let Turkey throw a little in the pot too. I know they're not part of the EU yet, but let's throw them in there, right? Like let's let everybody throw into the pot. Okay, great. Germany and France are the two big ones that are throwing the most money in, but that doesn't matter because we love everybody. So let's equally divide that giant pot out to all of the countries now. Well, France is going to be pissed about that. Germany's going to be pissed about that, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Is Germany saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, hold on." I don't know who Nigel Farage is. I'll Google him later, but and that's just it. You either have to give control over to this entity that you created or not. And that's not, I mean, well, that's not how it has to be. Well, it does if you want the EU to be effective. Now, if you don't want the EU to be effective, if you just want to be kind of this funny thing that is there, but countries do whatever they want anyway and just have a united currency, all right. I mean, why don't we just go global with that concept then, and everybody can trade on the US dollar because that's what they're doing anyway. And we'll just eliminate the euro and we'll have a single global currency that's backed by Papa Powell and his printer. Oh, that's very true. The initial argument for Brexit that was nationalization in the face of globalization, that the UK needs to retain its identity, and it was fading under the EU. Um, uh, it, the fear and lunacy of that, it was quite telling. But now, after the fact, after we've been through it and Brexit has come and gone, and it looks like we're coming to a no deal Brexit, I think the UK, from a financial standpoint, can say that they made a wise decision. I think we really do see in the next 4 or 5 years the EU showing signs of collapse. I would not be surprised to see, with essentially France and Germany holding the bag, France considering its position as well. Do we need to continue as part of the EU, or do we go back to the franc? Do we go back to being an independent nation? If the UK can show that they are just as successful or more successful being outside of the EU, but as an autonomous nation, I think we start to see the decline and fall of the EU. And I mean, that's big brain, five head, futuristic down the road, but the implications of the EU dissolving are huge, especially for countries that are dependent upon it, right? So you've got a country like Greece that is dependent on that. Yeah, there's a lot of people that won't agree with that idea. There's a lot of people, and this is the problem with taking all of those countries and pulling them together is you've got countries that have different leanings towards socialism, which is what we're talking about, right? Everybody gives what they have and everybody gets the same. There are certain countries that are more socialist leaning in the EU, and that's fine. They're probably okay with that. Germany, I would say, is more socialist leaning, as they're the ones that love the EU and love what it stands for. But countries like France, there's some social inclination there, but for the most part, it's a country that's defined itself on its independence. So for France to have gone through the revolution, to have done what they've done historically, to be a major leader in Europe, and then to be treated as the little guy at the table. Yeah, I don't know. The UK, I did not expect to stay in the EU forever, and they haven't. I just think if the UK can show that being autonomous, it can be just as beneficial for your country as being a part of the EU. Countries like France look to leave. And you better believe if when France leaving happens, Germany is not just going to foot the bill for everybody. Or if they do, I mean, I think you're going to see some very interesting elections out of Germany. Very, very interesting elections where the people realize that, oh, Germany's just paying for everybody. We're paying for Italy, we're paying for Spain, we're paying for Greece. And you better believe that there is negative sentiment towards those other countries. And if you don't think there is, go read some articles from those countries around COVID. There's a lot of finger pointing of Italy is to blame for this, Spain is to blame for this, France is to blame for this, Germany is to blame for this. It is literally a blame game that's being played right now. It's not a unified front. So the Italian reaction was very much this is Germany's fault, or this is Spain's fault. Spain gave it to us, and that's why we have to deal with it. And Germany wasn't there to help, so they're at fault. It's pretty crazy. It's not a small deal by any stretch of the imagination. Um, Second round of stimulus checks. And this is about to drive me nuts too. So, because everybody's still going, are we going to see more support from the US government to bail out US citizens? And the reality is this, because they have stalled to the point that they have, we are headed into US elections. That cannot be avoided. It's going to happen. There's tons of questions around that. But you better believe both platforms, Republican, Democrat, I mean, even if we want to consider the independents, all of those, you have to believe that this is going to be used as a bargaining chip. People are just going to start throwing out ridiculous numbers. The Democrats are going to talk about a. I appreciate that, and yeah, thanks for swinging through. Yeah, I do this every morning from 4:30 till 7, so 4:30 a.m. till 7 Eastern Standard Time, just breaking down the market, reading news, giving my insights as to what I see going on. So I'm glad that you're appreciating the insight. But yeah, with the U.S., I think what you see is the Democrats come out and say that we should just be doing this from down under. How are well? I know how things are down there. Things are rough. What I love about Australia right now is there's so much opportunity for innovation and expansion. After everybody forgets the fires happened before COVID, but Australia was still recovering from the fires, and then COVID hit, and so they're kind of double dipping on the pain at the moment. I love how resilient Australia has been. Their dollar should have just tanked entirely off the map, and it really hasn't. So I'm pretty impressed with some of the opportunity in Australia right now and how it has the room to grow. I also love that Australia is insulated as its own government from the rest of the world in a big way, and it helps to be an island. So, kind of love that. But this I hate. This idea that the Democrats are going to say, okay, well, everybody, the government should just send monthly checks to everybody because we can do this. So let's just print money and send checks to everybody endlessly. I think that you start to see a real like 1984 kind of thing going on where the government just decides everybody gets paid by them and you pay everything back to the government and that's the end of it. Which I, as a capitalist, I absolutely can't stand. That the Republicans are going to come back on the other side and say, well, you guys are socialists, you're communists, you're crazy. It's just a dialogue I tire of. I'm so tired of hearing it. So, I mean, we'll see what's happening. See you, and you have a great night. I guess it's night over there, but yeah, rest up. Thank you so much for swinging through. All right, let's get back to this here, guys. What else do we have? That music's getting loud in my ear. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. Okay. ISS against splitting Exxon. Yikes. Gosfather, tell me that doesn't blow your mind. Holy cow. So this is that nationalism that we're talking about here, guys. So this is what it looks like. Trump coming to the point now and saying, okay, well, we're going to go back into the brawl with China. Well, here's what we're going to do. All of the federal employment retirement fund that has any funds in the Chinese market, pull it. Take it. We are not in any way going to be funding China at all. We absolutely refuse. Not their aviation, not their military, nothing. We are not funding Chinese markets with U.S. retirement. This is nationalism. This is what's happening here, and this is going to be a big deal when it comes to phase two trade negotiations with China. That's going to be a big deal. It really is. The more that we cause that divide with Pompeo, the more that we cause that divide with sanctions, tariffs. It's just going to get nuttier and nuttier. And the thing is, you've got two very different age demographics where I would say 35, 40 and under don't have this animosity towards China. We've grown up in a world where China's a major player. We've accepted that. We're okay with that. We don't see China as the big bad. Yeah, I mean, here's good news for all you gamers out there. PS5 still on track for a holiday season. Mm-hmm. No price point on it yet, though, right? Interesting. So we got a price war going on between Microsoft and Sony. Neither of them wants to pull the trigger on how much it's going to cost to buy this thing. Is that Twitter's ticker? What is Twitter's ticker? Twitter. TWTR. Yeah. I think that's great news. I think that's absolutely fantastic news for Twitter. So that's good news for Italy. $60 billion across Italy in their stimulus package. That's an impressive number for a smaller country like that. What do we got going on in here? Okay, press releases. Let's head back into PR. Lockdown gaming boom drives Tencent. Yeah, no surprise there. England tiptoes out of lockdown. Blah blah blah. Read this. Read this. Read this. Okay, nothing in there for me. Next, global hazmat, lithium ion, Kipla, Andalou, soy milk, electric vehicles, food service, Moonbug, China distance education, cybersecurity, personal care, preclinical, whole bunch of market overviews, people selling reports. That's worth nothing. Ooh, more reports from Moleculin? This is fantastic news. Absolutely fantastic news. So, for those of you that don't know, MBRX Moleculin was a company that is showing some real potential against COVID. They may have a very serious candidate. The stock will not be able to retrade until next Monday. But the thing is, MBRX was halted on news. They were part of the wrap up on stocks that made claims about COVID but couldn't actually follow through. The thing is, all of their press releases that they put out were backed by clinical study. They were backed by academic reports and studies out of Germany, out of Poland. They've got medical proofs for everything that they put out. So it left me really scratching my head, having done hours and hours of due diligence. And this is getting to the crux of it. There is, since the temporary suspension, it's come to light that there were third parties that made claims regarding the drug, and Moleculin was completely untied to it. That's like great. That's exactly what you want to be hearing out of Moleculin is um, everything that we put out, everything that we put out was legitimate, absolutely legitimate. So this is the important part here. This is what makes them okay and in the clear. The company neither solicited, had advanced knowledge of, nor played any role in the preparation of such information, claims, or statements. So I don't even care who it is that made the statements about MBRX, WP1122. I don't care. The reality is this: the SEC cannot hold Moleculin at fault if they were in no way soliciting, had advanced knowledge of, or played any role in the preparation of those claims or statements. You cannot hold the company responsible for something they were completely involved in. This is fantastic news. What this does is the SEC on Monday is going to have to lift the lockdown, and they have to prove that Moleculin is wrong here. I very much doubt that the legal team. Finance for everybody. Yeah, but I mean, like, I very much doubt that the legal team would be telling them to drop these press releases of here's the deal, here's what's going on. Um, if this wasn't the case, like right now, this is just you stoking the fire. If it's not true, if it is true though, MBRX on Monday morning is going to be doing quite well, quite well. I am. Um, yeah, you can send me it. I'll run it off screen just to make sure. But yeah, sure. Send it. Send me the link. Yeah, I'll make sure that it is a solid video to get started, and then okay. So let me bring this over here, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna go back over here, and we're gonna do this. Yeah. So I mean, here's what we're gonna do with that. I'm gonna report that video. Um, let's report that. Okay, so that's reported to YouTube. Um, and then we're gonna head back over here. Yeah, and there it is. Super classy, boys. Super classy. Okay, and here's what we do now. We can head back over here and do this. For those that were actually watching stocks, sorry, I just need a second here to go through this. Let's go in to here, dashboard. We'll do a 60-second ad break here, and Okay, let's just see where we're at with that. How fast do we have chat moving now? Not? You guys are done? Cool. Very cool. Thanks. Oh, we got another one there? No problem. Get rid of you too. Okay, cool. Anybody else? Nobody else? Everybody's done? Fantastic. That's what I like to see, boys. Later. It's the beauty of not opening it on stream and not having the audio on. It is fantastic for that. And let's go with band, 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 band. Okay, this is a lot of fun, guys. It really is. I hope you're having as much fun as you are. Uh, let's go to go to okay, and gone, 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 gone. The sad part is like it's only ever Twitch that this happens on. Anywhere else, you don't have to deal with this. And it's a shame because I mean everything just stops. I'm happy to deal with it, and we'll get rid of you, and I'll get back to doing what I was doing. But everybody else that's watching on Twitter, everybody else that's watching on YouTube, this is what they see. This is what they see as as the Twitch community. This is what it is. Lot of room to grow up. Super unfortunate. All right, for now, hopefully that's it, and let's get back to it. So, where was I? PR. So, news releases, impact of COVID, India telecoms. This is worth reading. Don't have permission to view this page. CMAP Biopharma's development. CMAP Biopharma. News. Weird. Okay, so CMAP Biopharma stock. Privately. Can't get into it. Music. Albums.
I'm running out of time, every day goes by so fast. And every moment counts, baby, I don't wanna miss a thing. We can sleep under the stars, we can sleep under the stars, or hang out in hotel bars, driving somewhere in your car. We can sleep under the stars, we can sleep under the stars, under the stars.
Okay, Germany's opening up their borders. Monty had a good day.
Let's make the most of this night, come on baby, take my hand. And we don't need to
I'm glad I got a DMPI at a profit. Got out of IMMP yesterday too at a profit, so that's good. So this is gone, this is gone. Waiter's still there. Heavily weighted into ACRX at the moment. Okay, what else we got? That's a nothing. FDA. Today, FDA COVID approval, staff around the work around the clock, investigation of safe and effective therapies, 130 clinical trials. No mention of any drugs in there. Okay. Just 2 seconds, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. The burden of having a beautiful wife that thinks she's funny. Okay, what else do we have? MFA Financial. Okay, so this would be a good one to read. I do have a position in MFA. Sorry, submitted the reports on MFA. JMP Securities repeating the rating for MFA shares by setting it to market performed. Predicted price for MFA is $22. Yeah, right. I wish. MFA right now is sitting at $1.55. This guy's got a price at $22. Like, maybe not. Maybe not. Um, I mean, this is up. Like, they see this at $22. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy that it has two analysts seeing it at $22. Like, okay. I mean, what's my holding in this right now? 1,300 shares. So if it goes to $22, I want to talk about this Uber Grubhub thing real quick here. Um, so with this Uber Grubhub thing, um, I think the biggest issue that I've got is um, it would create a monopoly. It would create a monopoly. They would own the market. There is no competitor that would compete against us. I do not deal. I do not think that they would allow it. Yeah. Uh, they say that they seem to like it, but I think that you've got a bigger problem here. I think that you have a huge problem here. Um, and I think the problem is the market share that Uber Eats would hold, and it's already Uber, right? It's already a company that's dealing with this. You just give them too much power, too much power, way too much. I can't see antitrust laws pushing through an Uber Eats Grubhub deal at all. Um, see what's trending. VTIQ is up. Grub is up. DraftKings is up. Down 25% already. Buy a $20 stock, get a $5 dividend. That'll be interesting to watch. It's surprising it's down so much, given that that's what it is. Unless people are just hoping the price goes down so they can grab this. That's pretty crazy. $5, 5.50. It'd be like me saying, "Give me a 20, and I will give you 25.50 back." Interested? That's very very interesting. I think I'm gonna add that to the list for the day. I mean that's just it's weird. What's the ticker on it? Laurel. LORL. Man, imagine if you bought it at 15. Futures gain. Endeavor Mining. Myocardia. A lot of earning results here. That's it, really. There's not a ton else that's new there. This is showing we've got a bunch of stuff. Six takeaways from Fauci's interview. Dangerous to reopen. 8 COVID vaccine candidates are in development. Moderna is the front runner. So it's not coming by the fall. It's a year from now. It's a year from now. Next spring, we can expect a vaccine. So remember that, guys. With any kind of vaccine play on COVID, what you're looking at is Q2 2021. You can still play the news, but yeah, I mean, he's saying we reopen and there's more deaths. That's just what it is. That's what he's saying. I would love to know what the 8 candidates are. Does anybody else break that down? Okay, so mRNA, Cancino Biologics, Shenzhen Genoimmune, Shenzhen's got 2. Wonder if that's traded. What I would love to hear is something about my picks. And he says that there's 8 candidates that they're currently looking at. So of 8 candidates, I know iPix is still being considered. I know Berlacidin is still in that running. I mean, That was a Fast Company article, right? Where's the what you need to know about Fauci? 6 takeaways. So this is Cytodyne looking for a recovery. They had a huge fall. May 4th, they dropped 4%. Yeah, so we saw this, but it looks like they're creeping back up. I don't like these guys. They got caught. They got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and the press had to come out, and they had to report that the hype that they were dropping. Yeah, the hype that they were dropping had to be clarified. They were making claims that they had FDA approval for things and they didn't. And I'm surprised that the SEC didn't halt them or remove them entirely. But I guess SEC pulls the trigger real hard on some and not on others. Again, not a huge deal because I think MBRX is going to come out of this looking pretty solid. Let's see. Oops. FBI erroneously reveals identity of Saudi diplomat with suspected 9/11 ties. Yikes. Apparently that is going to open the door for lawsuits. In a big way. Morning. You want to learn stocks? Yeah, you want to learn stocks? Okay, let's find a stock for you. Huh? Okay, this one, what do you think? Is it going to go up or down? It's going to go up. Okay, so LORL is going to go up. What do you think about Moderna? Up or down? Up. Moderna's going to go up. Okay. What about CBay? Up or down? Up. You think all of these are going to go up? Okay. What about APLS? Is that going to go down? Yeah, that one's going to go down. Okay. So you think that one's going to go down. Well, that was very helpful. Why do you think those things? You don't know. Yeah, you don't know. Like a lot of the people out there pulling triggers on penny stocks, huh? I don't know. I just want it to go up, right? Yeah. Look there. That's where everybody sees you. Yeah, you're there. That's you. That's little Scotty Bear there, but that's you up there. All right. Say bye, everybody. Off we go, cutie. All right. So there you have it, guys. From the 2-year-old analyst, she likes Moderna, she likes Pfizer, she likes Laurel and CBay. She does not like APLS. So take that for what you will. That was deep insight from a toddler. But I mean, at least she did the due diligence. She looked at the charts, right? That's all it takes. You don't have to read any reports. Just look at the charts. I'm being completely sarcastic, by the way, for anybody that's hearing this for the first time. Don't do that. Yeah, this Uber Grubhub thing. There's no way it would make them a monopoly in that industry. There is no freaking way. This is not good. When industry is estimating a decline of 20 to 25%, like it's too much. That's a big deal. Like 10% of its fleet is idle, that's right, but here's the real number. Our expectation is that we will see demand significantly down in the second quarter, maybe as much as 20 to 25%. Something about CBC, CNBC that it doesn't like. All right, guys, I am going to go hit up coffee. I am here every morning, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time until around 7. Sorry about that last little bit there at around 6:30 where we had to deal with a crowd of children. Typically, they're not up around 6:30, but unfortunately, in this case, they were. My hope is that you guys are still able to get something out of the stream. As always, guys, if you have questions about stocks, options, equities, I'm on 4:30 till 7 every day. Stock Guy starts up at 9:30. Martini Rita starts up around 2 usually. All fantastic streamers. You can find them on the page down below as other streamers that I would vouch for in the stock industry, especially on Twitch if you're over on Twitch watching. Thanks so much, guys, and I will catch you tomorrow with another stream.